Hi, I'm Torte de Lini. For the longest time, Shadow Fiend was a really kind of unpopular mid laner. He was played as a physical hero, and that build was just okay, honestly. It did great damage, but the issue with Shadow Fiend was his scaling. While other mid laners kind of gained some dimension over the course of a match, Shadow Fiend kind of stayed the same, with all his flaws and challenges right from the get-go. For example, someone like Storm Spirit with a Witchblade goes from ganking the side lanes in the mid game to this kind of cool late game initiator with the Ag Scepter during those key team fights and engagements. Lashrak also goes from kind of like this early game tower pusher with max Diabolic Edict to a late game self-sustaining team fighter right in the smack of other engagements and late game team fights. So for Shadow Fiend, going from a strong damage dealer to an even stronger damage dealer, that's really it in terms of his evolution. As the game progresses, Shadow Fiend is still this fragile physical damage dealer that hits people. That's really it. However, since 7.36, there's this return to form old school magic version of Shadow Fiend that's been making a return, and he also has some cool few tricks up his sleeve. This has pushed the physical version of Shadow Fiend away from the meta and brought forth this scary nuking hero killer. So let's talk about why. For starters, the facet Shadowmire is a nice cherry on top of the magic version of Shadow Fiend, while the physical facet Lasting Presence kind of proves my point. All it does is reduce the armor of nearby opponents after a kill. That just means more damage, and the facet relies on some sort of circumstance to occur, like SF needing to kill a hero for Lasting Presence to activate, whereas Shadowmire slows movement and attack of enemies when hit by Shadow Rays, which is just inherently much more straightforward to achieve and activate, and it's more applicable regardless of the situation. The second value of Magic Shadow Fiend is that it comes along much earlier than the physical one, and much more aligned with how most mid laners are playing with a power spike item and timing that allows them to gank other lanes. Shadow Fiend usually opt for a Blink Dagger or Yules first at around 9 to 12 minute mark to set up a kill with Requiem of Souls. This proactive tempo from the magic build also scales better with items like Ag Scepter that lowers your Requiem of Souls cooldown but also raises its damage, thus keeping that tempo going. There's also the item Yasha, now giving you 25% spellcast speed, which means your spells will land much quicker and give less reaction time to your targets. Now for the physical version, they gave Shadow Fiend a new ability, Feast of Souls, but it's honestly not that appealing as you usually build attack speed anyways on the hero to go along with your damage. So integrating an attack speed ability into your kit that costs 5 of your souls, thus 25 damage at max level, is kind of a big ask. Again, the physical build has a lot of neat changes, but it's always in exchange for something like a hero has to be killed or you have to sacrifice some of your damage, whereas the magic build is purely enhancement. It's pretty straightforward. Lastly, the magic version of Shadow Fiend scales much better in terms of talents. At level 15, Shadow Fiend's Shadow Raises are buffed by 40% more damage, and at level 25, Feast of Souls gives you 40% cast speed, which pairs nicely with your Yasha, giving you a 25% increased attack speed on top. This really helps your ultimate and Shadow Rays output better in late game engagements. So what is the build of Shadow Fiend? Well, it's everything we just talked about. You can start out with Power Treads, Yules into Blink Dagger, and what that will let you do is fix some of your movement speed problems in the mid game to reach and Yules your targets to then cast a full Requiem of Souls ultimate ability on their ass to then follow up with Shadow Raises as they try to flee. Blink Dagger means you can jump right on your targets and cast a perfect Requiem of Souls for a one-hit kill, or almost at least. Next, items like Ag Scepter not only enhance your Requiem of Souls to deal more damage and heal you, but it's on a lower cooldown so you and your team can force more engagements and fights without having to wait as long for a new ultimate ability from Shadow Fiend. Ag Shard is also another great option as it enhances your Shadow Raises, lowering their cooldown with each hit on enemies, giving you something to do post ultimate. Other items you can consider are, let's say, Refresher Orb, Sight of Vise, Wind Waker, which all provide additional control for Shadow Fiend, or repositioning power. Lastly, what's important to remember is putting points in Feast of Souls is honestly pointless for you until you grab your level 25 talent, so opt for points of attributes instead of Feast of Souls in the meantime. So that's it. In 7.36, most players have kind of switched to playing the old school magic build for Shadow Fiend because it comes online better, achieves better mid-game tempo smoother, and has its late game scaling kind of fixed with some of those cool new talents and Ag Shard and items. The physical version is still viable, but honestly it's still stuck in its own ways of just having to deal and provide scaling physical damage without really much more to offer. As more heroes are becoming multi-dimensional, in their roles as the match progresses. Shadow Fiend as a physical damage dealer is too much of the same and not enough of something more, honestly. So Light Sniper in 7.35 with his Ag Scepter, Assassinate Magic Nuking ability, we now have this Shadow Fiend who's embracing his roots as this magic nuking hero killer.